Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to talk about an incredibly unique, brand new product. Actually, I guess it's not really... Yeah, it is brand new. It came out just in August. So this thing just showed up on the shelves late August, so this is less than a month. This is maybe a little more than a month old. The reason why we're talking about it is I just saw it in the wild. I saw it at my FLGS, real, held it in my hands, and the product is the Practically Complete Guide to Dragons. This is an incredibly unique Dungeons & Dragons product, and it is an incredibly powerful Dungeons & Dragons product. It's actually, I should say, this product very perfectly illustrates the power of Dungeons & Dragons, and I think really explains why Dungeons & Dragons is massively winning in why it's so important that Dungeons & Dragons is really winning in the tabletop role-playing game activity sphere. I don't like to call it an industry. I think Dungeons & Dragons is an industry. I don't think the tabletop role-playing game industry actually exists. I contest it. I really don't think it's real. All right, so, okay. I think activity sphere. It's like, there's Dungeons & Dragons, and then there's like 1,000 other vanity projects. Maybe Modiphius is real. I don't know. We'll talk about it. All right, actually, yeah, that's my take. All right, here we go. Let's talk about the Practically Complete Guide to Dragons, okay? So what is it? Well, first of all, it's a tradition, right? It is a product in the form of a D&D canon hardback. This is not a D&D canon hardback, in my opinion. And the reason, and one, it doesn't have the red ampersand on it, so right there, it's off the board as far as being a D&D canon hardback. But it is exactly the same size. It is printed on the same presses, in my humble opinion. It's identical to a D&D canon hardback. And the first thing is, let's look at that, right? So the D&D canon hardback has become a very real, very genuine tradition, right? And traditions are powerful. They last decades beyond when they should last, maybe even centuries, right? And the D&D canon hardback has become a tradition. The idea that they're going to stop printing the physical D&D canon hardback is ludicrous. There is zero evidence of it, but there's still a bunch of grognards screaming it because they want to point at a boogeyman that doesn't exist, right? But this thing, so what is this thing? So first of all, this is all of Dungeons & Dragons lore about dragons presented in a D&D canon hardback book, a physical book, right? For who? Who is this presented for? Your mom, okay? And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm not saying that I'm not kidding. Okay, so let me explain. So this is America. We got 330 million people in it, right? There's this incredibly rare group, right? And that group is dedicated mothers, right? They're still around, right? So they had 2 to 4 kids, right? And they had 2 to 4 kids, and they love those kids, right? And they have a curio cabinet. And you know what's in that curio cabinet? 16 different dragons. One made by Hallmark, one given to on Christmas by their son, one that they bought at a on Etsy, one that they bought at a farmer's market, when that's carved out of wood. And these moms just like dragons, right? And they have a curio cabinet of them, right? And they read a lot, right? They read a lot of romance novels, like a lot of historical pieces, right? And I think there's about 6 million of them, right? So why would this matter? Why would there matter that there's 6 million moms in America? That's who this book is for, okay? 1%, if 10% of those 6 million moms buy this book, that's 60,000 sales. And that's who would buy this book. They would be like, oh, I could actually learn about the dragons that are sitting in my curio cabinet, right? And why would Dungeons & Dragons be able to give a product to them? Because Dungeons & Dragons actually understands growth, right? That is the future of Dungeons & Dragons. You and I are the heart of Dungeons & Dragons. We play real Dungeons & Dragons with real people at a real table with real physical books. That's the heart of Dungeons & Dragons. It's not going anywhere, right? It's the same reason DC has never stopped printing physical comics. Marvel has never stopped printing physical comics, right? The real thing is the real thing. But the reality is, it's like Dungeons & Dragons' growth is attached to being able to reach people who are not in that demographic and really capture them, right? And this book is very comfortable, it's very light, it's beautifully illustrated, it's well organized, and it's saying, hey, you love dragons. Guess what? Dungeons & Dragons, right? And first of all, they're going to have to look twice to even see Dungeons & Dragons on the cover. It's on the back, right? And it is listed in it is on the back, and it is actually listed on the in the credits page, right? So it's not a secret that it's a Dungeons & Dragons product, but it's definitely something you will learn after you sit down with your chamomile tea, right, in your mom chair, right? And I think my daughter plays Dungeons & Dragons. So I'll be able to call her this week and talk to her about the dragons I read and the difference between a chromatic dragon and these metallic dragons. Yeah, interesting, And so that's who this book is for, right? Now, you're like, wait, so why is this important? It's super important because this is why Dungeons & Dragons is winning. And no OSRs and no indies can figure this out. They keep thinking if they make a better rules system, if they just, get the art right and the layout right and the writing right, and they realize, and they're fighting Dungeons & Dragons to beat it, and they're not even in the arena. So none of their swings land, right? Dungeons & Dragons figured this out a long time ago. It makes billions, right? Because it connects itself to other products, it connects itself to other worlds, and it finds new, fresh, unique revenues. Dungeons & Dragons just made a product for your mom, right? That's unique, right? Kelsey ain't going to make a product for your mom, ever, right? The OSC creator ain't ever going to create a product for your mom. No PPDA, publisher is ever going to make a product for your mom, but D&D just did. And that's why it's powerful. That's why it's unstoppable. That's why it's important. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your track. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.